is up? What is up? Welcome to another episode of The Real. I am your host, BG, with the lovely ladies, Miss Marty Cruz and God is Z in the building. How you guys doing today?
Hi, we doing good. Ready?
I am well ready for tonight's combo.
Yes, sir. Let's get into it.
So you guys ready for this hot topic? Ready to get started or something?
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Welcome to another episode of The Real. I'm one of your hosts, BG, in the building with the lovely Goddess Z and a special guest today. We got Miss Kelsey Nelson. How are you ladies doing today?
I am well. How are you?
Doing good. This is another spotlight, you know what I'm saying? You know, we like to give shed light on people that are out there doing big things in the community and in their own fields. So brought on Kelsey Nelson. How you doing today, Kelsey? Let everybody know about you and, you know, what you do over there.
Thank you both for having me. It is a delight and pleasure to be here. Nowhere else I'd rather be on a Friday night, but I am Kelsey Nicole Nelson. I am a multimedia sports journalist, host, reporter, business owner, multiple businesses, which has been fun to do, community advocate, education advocate, a little bit of everything. But most people know me for my sports reporting work with Fox Sports and Valley Sports and other places since I freelance. And really, honestly, just a person who likes to be in the community, speaking with folks, talking with folks, and really just giving back. I feel like that's been my platform, and I've just been privileged to work with so many great orgs now here in the nation's capital and national orgs as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It's always an honor. We did do some work together on some football, NFL. You know, a couple of times. We definitely have some nice shows over here. Check it out, man, for real. She definitely does her work, and she knows what she's talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's why, you know, I know she is one of them, I call the GOATs of women content for girls out there. Like, she's out there doing her thing, man. And it's not just NFL, it's all different types of sports, you know. Like, what got you into this? What even got you started into sports, you know?
I always say I credit my dad. I'm a daddy's girl, like through and through since I was born. And my dad was so into sports growing up. I was always with him watching the football games. He is a proud Gramblinite, which means he is a proud graduate of the Grambling State University. So I grew up with black and gold, folks, everywhere in my bedroom, going to games. And then growing up in the DC area, I grew up, you know, going to all the sporting events here. We were privileged. We would get free tickets to games through my community groups I was a part of. So I remember going to Georgetown Hoyas games on my dad's shoulder. This is when Georgetown was really good, folks. All right. So this is when it was standing room only at Georgetown basketball games, when everybody was rocking the Georgetown starter jackets. I remember like peering over and watching just Hoya greats, going to University of Maryland and watching games. Still remember my first Wizards game I ever went to, you know, watching greats like Gilbert Arenas, Agent Zero, right? Karan Butler, Antoine Jameson, that whole era. So, you know, I was lucky. You know, I went to Baltimore Ravens training camps, and I also was a former athlete. So I played a bunch of sports growing up. I think I've naturally always had that competitive blood in me. I played a little bit of everything: tennis, soccer, basketball, volleyball, four-square champion at Boys and Girls Club, kickball, like everything that was out there. I just wanted to be a part of. I take pride. So yeah, it's been, I think for me, it's just always been a part of me growing up with a family from the South. If you are from the South, you know, church and football, those are like the two big things. You're always in church, never miss church at all. Grandma always, and I was one of the first people there. And then football is almost like a religion down there as well. So those are the two things, you know, that are just super important and popular. So those have ingrained in me since I was little.
So yeah, it sounds like sports is a major part of your life and has been like forever. So what motivates you, or what motivated you to just kind of get into journalism and do what you do?
Always tell me, if you want to do something, make it happen. And that's what it was for me. So, you know, I remember when I would rush home and my parents would be watching Oprah, and I used to just love this Black woman that could command an audience. Like, who didn't watch Oprah, right? When she had the Oprah Winfrey show. And then I just remember, like, just when I would ask my parents, like, who are these people talking to? And realizing these folks are talking to millions of people. They have people's attention. They have power. I just know I always wanted to be a part of that. So I think for me, just seeing these people, it motivated me. So I found out quickly, like, how can I do what I want to do? And so for me, I meant when I was in middle school, volunteering for the yearbook club. And in high school, I was editor-in-chief of the yearbook and news managing editor for the newspaper. I was always raising my hand and volunteering for different assignments. I've always just loved covering stories and talking to people. And so I feel like it started when I was younger. I was always reading as well. I was a big reader when I was younger. Obviously, my mind just always going places. And I just looked up to these folks. So I remember like reaching out to local news reporters. This is pre-social media. So doing the old school, finding their emails, going to the address book, finding the phone numbers, right? And actually reaching out to them to see if I could shadow them. And I also had those great opportunities and experiences. And kind of one thing led to another. Next thing I know, I'm at University of Maryland, switching my major to journalism. And I just kind of feel like everything else was history for me. I felt like it was a love. I made a mistake going to college, though, starting with psychology, just because everyone told me that journalists don't make money. And that scared the hell out of me since I didn't come for money. But, once I made that switch it was kind of just like lights on. And then everything else kind of went from there. And of course, it was just a lot of hard work, lots of networking, and just putting in the work that's required if you want to be in media and hopefully to be successful and have longevity in media. And that's kind of what led me to where I am today.
Inspiring. So inspiring. So, you mentioned you're from the South. How hard is it, or how hard was it being a woman, like, and being a journalist and being in the field, especially with sports? It's a male-dominated field. Kind of tell us about that.
Yeah, I've never been intimidated, I should say, by men, because I grew up a tomboy. Like, I was a daddy's girl. My dad would always tell me, whatever they can do, you can do too. I remember I played in the NFL flag football league, like everything the guys were doing. And people that know me, I still have my sports scars. And I will still get back on a basketball court in a second and beat anybody that's out there. But all that to say, I think, for me, I just got to keep it 100. But, I think for me, there is always that challenge, right? And I'm not just a woman, I'm a Black woman, right? And that's the first thing that people see when I walk into rooms. And so I feel like for me, it's given me that underdog mentality. Like, I feel like I've been an underdog, my entire life. It's why a quote from Lamar Jackson resonates in my head. And he said, "Nobody cares, work harder." And I think that's what it's always been for me. Nobody cares about the struggles that you're going through. You're always going to have to work harder, though. And so I think for me, that just meant I kind of had to be 4 or 5 times as better as anybody else. It meant I had to do more than everybody else. So like in college, I did 15 internships. I was working hard in college. I had a job, an internship, finishing classes, volunteering for every club on campus. But again, I knew what needed to be put in there, for me to obviously do better and be better. But I think also just having great mentors, great relationships with folks. I joined organizations early on, like the National Association of Black Journalists. I joined in grad school, finding mentors in the field that kind of helped to prepare me for what I was going to go through. But to be honest with you, when you're a Black woman in this field, a lot of this is lived experience. You are going to go through things. You are going to, unfortunately, be discriminated against at times. You are going to be overlooked many times because people are going to think you're not the one that can fit this position. You're not the one for this role. But the biggest thing for me is honestly just not taking no for an answer. So anytime, when people say, I say every no means an on. I switch the word around and I say every no is an on. And that means I'm supposed to be put on to something else. And so every no I got, I went to find something else and find an opportunity that would be meant for me. So it means I got 1,000,001 no's, but it just took those couple of yeses to kind of give me an opportunity. But it does mean, again, as a Black woman, you are going to face times sexist comments and racist things, right? So you have a combination of those two things. And I think every woman can kind of point to different experiences. But I took those, and those are challenging, but I took those as learning experiences. And I think I hold all of that in me, and I broadcast it with whatever I do. And honestly, it's why it's so important for me to give back to the next generation, especially of Black women journalists, because the field is still not leveled for them. It's still not fair for them. We still have so much more work to do. Though we are advancing, it's great to see so many firsts. But my biggest thing now is I don't want to see so many firsts. I want to see second, third, fourths, and hopefully never the last. So I think for me, it's making sure that you're supposed to be in that room, making sure you don't let anybody talk you out of opportunities. And I think it's always betting on yourself. People always say bet on Black, bet on yourself. And that's what I always think it is for me, never just underestimating myself and just never giving up. it's out hustling. I think I've been hustling since I was younger. It's always, again, having that mentality to know that if you belong in that room, you're supposed to be in that room, and that no one can take you out of that room but you. And it also means, as a Black woman, when a seat isn't offered at the table, build your own, and bring your own chairs to bring others with you. So I'm very big into lifting as you climb and climbing as you lift. So that's kind of been my mentality. Again, it's still challenges that you face, but nothing's going to deter me.
Nice.
Y'all hear some powerful gems being dropped. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So what would you say was your best accomplishment when you were playing sports, and just your best accomplishment since you've been a journalist?
I don't know if I've got, best accomplishments when I was playing sports. Actually, I'm going to go back to middle school because I still remember this. My 7th and 8th grade middle school team, we were undefeated in county champs. So that was so great. The only time I've been undefeated on a sports team in my life. So I think to have that, it meant a lot for me. We're still, and anybody out in Germantown, Maryland, we're still at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School in the trophy case. You can go check your girl out. But yeah, I think it's something you'll always remember. And I think what made it even more special was that my dad would come to every single game. So just to know that he was a part of that, I think made it all the more special. And, just the bond that you get with your teammates, and just seeing, how great everyone is kind of doing now from those special experiences. And then the second part of your question was the greatest accomplishment in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I think has to be covering my first Super Bowl. I think it has to be covering my first Super Bowl. And I think that kind of led to more people knowing about me, knowing my work. As a football girl, I grew up with football. Football was my first love, getting to cover the biggest game to me that's out there. I know the World Cup is probably a step bigger internationally, but, Super Bowl is the granddaddy of them all. And so I think covering that first Super Bowl was great, especially because I believe it was my first Super Bowl, too, when I found out I was the DMV Sports Media Person of the Year. So kind of like a double whammy. And they actually told me that while I was there. So I think for me, just getting to that point and then knowing people saw the work that it took for me to get to that point, it was truly incredible, and something that I will always not only just cherish, but I will always remember and keep in a special place in my heart.
Nice.
Oh yeah, true trailblazer. I was just looking at your resume. You are doing it. It sounds like you've been doing it your entire life. You're just amazing. So I just had to just kind of
thank you.
And see, hey, what kind of gems and what kind of tips can you offer? Because it can be a little intimidating in the fact that you're saying, hey, create room, create your seat at the table. Don't be intimidated by this. And your path, your journey that's your resume. You're overqualified for it. So you mentioned being a part of different organizations and doing different mentorships. What about sororities? Are you a part of a sorority?
I'm a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I just actually saw some of my sorors yesterday at an event I hosted. It's an organization I became a part of in college at the University of Maryland College Park. They had a new chapter. And it just means a lot, right? To have that sisterhood, that bond, service to all mankind, something I uphold and live to every single day of my life. And for me and my family, I'm the first. So it meant a lot for me. It's a special, sisterhood that I will always cherish forever. So shout out to all the D9s. There's no hate here. It's all love. And, again, I'm proud and honored to have that incredible experience and sisterhood for life.
Nice.
Love it.
What would you say was the most challenging part of it? We talk about, you got these challenges, but was there ever a point where you're like, I don't know if I should be doing this, maybe I should look another way? And then what did you do to kind of get out of that?
I think we always have these moments sometimes of self-doubt. And I think especially for someone like me, because I am a person that chases perfection. I chase greatness. I know the things that I want to do. And when you fall short of a goal, I take that personally. I'm someone that takes it personally. I'm like, well, what did I do? Why did I not get this? What did I do wrong? I think for me, there's been so many challenging moments. I remember I was interviewing for a team reporter job one time. It was a huge team in a big market. I had these connects, these connects I reached out to, told them about the job. I get through the 4th round of the interview. I'm feeling super confident. I'm like, when you do a good interview, I got this in the bag, right? I know I did well. I know I crushed it. I did all the studying, did everything I needed to do. And the next thing I know, a couple weeks go by and I don't hear anything. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, because they said, they were looking to hire somebody soon. The season's about to start. And, I'm like, all right, let me send an email. And, I kind of get a vague response back. And it's kind of like, oh, yeah, we're still kind of deciding and going through candidates, which is never an email you want to get, again, when you crushed it and you did what you needed to do. And the next thing I know, I still don't hear anything. And then finally I reach back out again and, kind of hear that they went a different direction. And I'm just thinking like, okay, what's the different direction? What did I do? And it was really, again, very vague. You didn't say why I didn't get it. Didn't explain anything. Those are kind of the worst emails to get when you don't get a job, because, you're like, well, what went wrong? And is there something I could do better? And so I remember like sending a follow-up and took a little bit to get back. And the next thing I know, seeing somebody else with the job that I wanted. So of course, happy for them, because if they're qualified, they're qualified. But it hurt because it was something I wanted so bad. And I felt like I had put all the work in, right? I did all the intangibles, and again, just did everything that I thought I needed to do. And I thought I did go above and beyond. And it was a dream job. And, I didn't get it. And it hurt. It did. Like, there's nothing worse, and that's not the only time, I've gotten close to something and didn't get it. I remember another time, I had auditioned for this role. They, sat me in the studio chair and like that. They were like, that's going to be the chair you sit in. And, I'm thinking like everything's good. And the next thing I know, they go a different direction. And again, that's why I said earlier, I had to turn every no to an on. And that meant that I need to turn on and go a different direction. And that obviously what God had planned for me. And I'm a true believer of this. That was not meant for me. And so I had to go back, obviously, and kind of self-reflect. But, again, it's hard. And I don't want people to think, when you don't get things that, you're not going to be sad or mad. Of course you are. Like, this is why, when Stephon Diggs just said what he said about, like he doesn't take, losing, he doesn't take that well. And Stephon Diggs is from the area that I'm from in Montgomery County. I don't take that well. I do. I feel like, it's like a self thing where like, you're just like, why? How did this happen? But again, you have to turn all those negative thoughts back into positive thoughts, because the biggest thing I've learned is you can never stop. You just can never stop. You have to keep going. Your trail is going to be winding. You're going to hit a lot of roadblocks. You're going to hit a lot of everything. You're going to go in different directions you didn't even plan to go in. But again, as a woman of faith, what's meant for you is meant for you, and what's meant for you will never miss you. And so again, it's turning those moments, those negative moments and those negative things, learning from it, and then moving on to the next thing, right? Because there's always going to be something else out there, and you can't get lost in self-pity. So, again, I have those moments, I get mad, but then I turn it around and put it back into action and put it back into work. And then I'm on to the next thing that's meant for me.
Wow, that's nice. That's a good answer right there. Good answer.
Great answer.
You got to have confidence. That's what life's about. You got to have that confidence to do whatever you want.
It is.
I get too hard, You can even ask Miss Bergen. I'd be hard. I'm like, hey, I want to be great. That's it. That's no in between. It's just me and greatness until I get there. That's just how I am. What I'm saying? Just laser locked in, and we got to do it this way, to get to where we need to get to, because like I got to get there. I don't want nothing stopping me. Ain't nothing, nobody, not even, family, friends, nothing is going to stop me from my mission of being great.
And be in your own head and know what you want and go after, like you said, and don't let anybody deter you, from that dream. What's the quote? I love quotes. What happens to a dream deferred? Well, my biggest thing is I'm not going to know what happens to it, because my dream will never be deferred, because I'm always going to be chasing, that dream. And, something that I always, my parents, again, my family's from the South, my great grandparents were sharecroppers, and something I was always told as a child is I am the dream and the hope of a slave. And to know what our people have went through, there's nothing that we cannot ourselves persevere through. So everything that we're going through, again, is nothing compared to what our ancestors went through. So meaning that there's nothing that should ever stop you from achieving that goal. And you're going to do everything that you can within your power to make it happen. It's probably not going to go as planned, but you're going to get there some way, somehow. And again, that belief has to start within you. And knowing it's within you, others are going to start to believe that as well. Because I'm very big into people feeding off the energy that you have. And people know when you're on to greatness. People know when you're up to something good. And they're going to support that when they can truly see that you're believing in yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it starts with you. It always starts with you first, man. You can't let anything deteriorate that dream. You got to keep fighting and keep going along until you get there. I like that. So what else, what I'm saying? Like, what else does Kelsey do? Like, let us know about some of your charity work. Let us know about, your own businesses that you said you started there.
So, I like to say I'm multi-dimensional, multi-talented. I've never been a person that you can place, into a box. And, I'm big on that. Like, it's something that, when we ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? We assume that they're supposed to say one thing. Well, why can't they say multiple things, right? Life is a journey. And I think you are able to do different things. And when people say Kelsey Nicole Nelson, or when they say KNN, I want them to remember all of the different things that I do. And I've been blessed, and privy to be able to have this opportunity to do so many things. So obviously working in sports, TV and radio, commenting on sports nationally and locally, but also education is huge for me. I have an organization that's a community action project called Books Breaking Borders, Books to End Educational Bankruptcy. And it's all about ending the illiteracy that's going on in our Black and brown communities with our babies. So many children are being pushed through the school system, graduating without knowing how to fully and appropriately read and write. And if you can't read and write on a basic level, life is going to be hard. So it's making sure that we're holding our school systems accountable in every zip code, to making sure that children can read. We do spelling bees. I think people don't realize from a spelling bee. And for one, I remember watching A Q and the Bee when I was younger, and I had never seen anybody that looked like me, win these things. And I remember I did spelling bees when I was younger. But knowing how to spell, it's not just knowing how to spell. It teaches you oratory skills, right? It teaches you self-confidence. It takes a lot for a child to go in front of a room and have to spell a time limit. So I think, there's different things that come through that. We do family literacy nights, making sure that we're not just educating the child, but educating the whole family. Because, of course, if the parent is not able to read, then they're not going to be able to efficiently help the child. And so we do the family literacy nights, and it's huge. It's fun when we're doing read-along and popcorning to each other. We do book drives, making sure that making sure that books are accessible. We build bookshelves in community centers and nonprofits and places where books and libraries are not always readily available. So that's one of my passion projects. I just brought on a new class of interns, super excited to have them on. And that's been honestly truly incredible. My podcast is an official business podcast network. We just brought on 5 incredible interns with that. And that's been fun, having merchandise and it just growing. Shout out to Matthew Berry, who just came on and joined me on the show. And that was actually something that started again for me not being offered a chair at the table. I built my own table, and now it's important for me to bring young people on. And that's my way, of giving back and making sure that I'm also offering them a chair. And then I think the other big thing I have, it's called Cryption. It is my media communications consulting company. So helping people with branding, media, and communications and companies. It keeps me busy, nonetheless, to say, managing all these different things. I'm also often talking at colleges and universities and schools. I just love it. I love giving back. I'm a Boys and Girls Club girl myself, and I know what it is to have somebody come in and just speak to you, share their life stories with you, have the opportunity to ask questions of you, follow up with you. And so that's huge for me. It's that giving back in the community and being in the community, because I only am where I am because it really was a village, that raised me. And I think every village is only as strong as each of its members. So making sure that we're always pouring back into it. So folks in the DMV area will probably often see me out. I feel like I feel like I pay rent for no reason, because I feel like I'm not here enough because I'm always out. But, I absolutely love it, because there's nowhere else where I, would rather be than in community, learning from people, being with people, and hopefully making us stronger together. So I try to be everywhere, basically, Randall. You know this because you follow on social. Yeah, and event host. I do a little bit of everything. I love public speaking. I'm doing a lot more booking engagements, to be hosting events and mistress of ceremonies. But I love it because I love bringing people together. That's really what I'm all about. And I love storytelling. That's what I truly am at the end of the day as a journalist. I'm a storyteller. So getting a chance to do that, it means a lot to me. And hopefully just making my family proud.
Oh, you're muted.
Easy. I know she's saying some great things, though.
She is. She's always saying great things. She holds this show up, man. I'm just here.
You're just here so you won't get fined. Yeah. No, but I truly appreciate you guys having me on. I'm hoping we get her back. I understand technology happens. There we go. Oh no,
Oh no.
And I guess I know she's saying some fabulous things.
Cut it back all the way out and come back in. Yeah. So the DMV, man, like it's I've been there, so I drove through there and I was just like, how is that area as a whole? Like you said, how was it converting from, you said, you didn't come from money, you know what I'm saying? Like, guys like me, I'm from LA, South Central, ghetto, what I'm saying? And it took me a while, probably I would say mid-high school before I actually realized I couldn't be that guy no more. I had to kind of be a better guy. Like, how did that transaction happen with you? Or was it just kind of who you were the whole time?
That question, I think it's a combination for me. For one, my parents didn't play. All right. My parents are I have Black parents from the deep South. They didn't play. So I was going to be educated. I was not allowed to be fooling around. But I think for me, it's also just a lot of self-motivation. Like, again, I always saw what I wanted to be, and I knew the work that I had to put in. So I think I've always kind of had that self-motivation. But then I've also had a lot of great mentors around me. I remember, from my Black teachers to my counselors, they always expected better of me. They were always putting me in leadership positions. When I was younger, I thought to themselves, why are they picking on me? Why do I have to be in charge? Not realizing until later on is because they saw something in me that I didn't always see in myself growing up, right? And they saw the leadership qualities, and they knew what I could be. So they were helping to prepare me, right, for life later on. And it also taught me lessons, right? Like, I wasn't allowed to get in trouble. Like, no, Kelsey can't do that. But little did I know they were preparing me for life, right? Because there are things that I can't do. There's things that we don't get a second chance at. And I feel like learning that, early on was great. But then also having parents that pushed and motivated me, supported me. My parents were at all my sports games, all my honor roll assemblies, like everything. I was busy, so I'm very impressed that they made a way, even though they worked so much. But again, I never wanted to let them down. I come, especially coming from a family of strong Black women, and really from a family of Black excellence, right? My house growing up was surrounded by Black artwork. I read books from Black authors, and so reading all this Black greatness, and being surrounded by so much Black girl magic, I thought there's only one thing for me to be, and that was to be great. And that's honestly what I feel like I've always just been chasing, trying to be. And the kind of bar that I set for myself. So I think I really am a product of my environment. My environment was not going to, and I think when people say that, I mean the good and the bad, right? You probably see things as a kid that not every kid should see. But at the same time, again, I think it teaches you, you can go two ways in life, right? You can go this way or that way, and you have to choose which way. And that's not to say if you start to go down one way that you can't turn back and go the other way. And so, I think for me, I chose a way, and I kept my head down, and I kept trying to be what I could be, making sure that I didn't let anybody deter me, from that path, or pull me off that path. And, sometimes in life, I think that meant just also surrounding myself with the right people, and having the right people in my corner, having the right champions be around me, and honestly, just getting rid of negative weight. People always ask me why I'm always smiling, why I'm always happy. One, I'm blessed. I'm happy to be alive. And two, I'm unbothered. You are not going to unfaze me in God's perfect plan for me in life. And that's how I truly feel.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you back.
I was just giving you your extra flowers because of all of the community work you're doing, pouring back. I love the literacy thing. I just adore everything that you're doing. You're amazing, and you're such a trailblazer. And with that being said, I know that there's probably some things that you've learned, valuable lessons you've learned with trial and error on your journey. Like for our aspiring journalists, what type of advice would you have for anybody trying to look to get into journalism and what you do?
There's so many lessons I feel like you learn, later in life. I think, the first thing I'd say is to find your voice. And what I mean by find your voice is find what makes you authentically you. What I realized when I got in college is that a lot of my younger life, I was living for what other people wanted me to be. So meaning I was doing everything to please everybody else. And then I got to school and I realized people would ask me who I am, and I couldn't fully answer that question. And it meant to me that I had to truly find, what made me, me. And, that's when you have to get comfortable. People say all the time, speak up and speak out. And I say speak up and speak out, but be comfortable doing that. That's the biggest thing that has to happen. And when you're comfortable speaking your own voice and comfortable being you, I think good things happen. When I first started broadcasting, I tried to sound like everybody else out there because I thought that was what needed. And everybody's like, why do you sound like this when you broadcast? I'm like, well, that's how everybody else sounds. And they were like, Kelsey, they're already out there. You're trying to get there. So you need to be you. And that was important. And, so now when I broadcast, this is how I talk to you all is how I broadcast. This is me. This is my voice. This is what you get. I try to be high energy because that's how I am naturally. I try to bring fun with it when I can. Of course, there's serious stories as well, but I bring multiple sides and facets of me. And so I think that's important. So be sure that you find your voice and what makes you comfortable being you. I think that would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is know that, every no is not a forever. It's not a forever. There's going to be something else out there for you. It can be hard. It can be super hard. Even till this day, I keep an email folder of all the no's I've ever gotten. And honestly, I look at it from time to time because it gives me that confidence back to look where I am now and just think, if I had given up every time I saw those no's, I wouldn't be here. I just wouldn't be here. Right. So I think for me, it's knowing that no is just not right now, but that means go somewhere else, look another way. But also it means if that opportunity opens back, that you might have an opportunity. I can't tell you how many times I've maybe gotten a no from a place, but went back later and that no became a yes, because it just wasn't my time at that time. So again, know that not every no is not a no forever. It's just a no for right now. And don't be afraid to go back and try to get that same thing if you truly want it. I think number 3, find mentors and sponsors in your life. It's very important to have people in your corner. A mentor, of course, is someone that's going to help lead and guide you. A sponsor is going to be someone that talks up in rooms that you're not in. It's very important to have those people in your life. Look, I mean, you see one person on social media, but again, I'm a product of so many people that believe me and help me and put me in places to have opportunities. So make sure that you have those people in your life. And then the 4th thing I'd say, it's probably like, it's something that I think it's so much easier now for this generation, but it's to begin branding yourself early. Like, there's so many things I wish I would have done before. I know I grew up in the MySpace era, Zanga era. Yeah. I used to be worried about top 8 friends when I should have been worried about myself and branding myself instead of who was in my top 8 and hurting people's feelings, but I say that to say, like, now kids can brand themselves so much earlier. Now I'm branded by KNN, but I went through a lot of different names. I think I was Kelsey Nicole. I was Germantown Boo at one time. Like, I had all these different things going on. But I wish I would have found my brand earlier, because, now it's something that's really, defines me. It's something that, people know me by. People I don't even know, will call me KNN. I'm like, well, but it's fine because it's cool because I like that name. But you don't even know me. But it's because they heard of me, right? So it's huge to, be able to brand yourself, I think, so much earlier. And when I say brand yourself too, like, and me and Randall were talking about this before, I am a sports journalist, but I think I've been able to brand myself as so much more, like, because there's so many things, a professor, an educator, there's so many, a businesswoman, like, there's so many things I want to brand myself as. And when people do say KNN, I want to be branded under all those things. So make sure you start early and often branding yourself, not just on social media, but in the community, wherever you are, so people truly know what they're getting when they see it. I think those would be like my 4 pieces of advice.
Yeah, one of the things that really brought me to you was the whole fact, like, you met a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people, you know what I'm saying? You interview a lot of these guys, and I was like, wow, she's interviewing this person. Oh, how did you know this person? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what really draw me to him. Like, dang, she's talking to some of the smartest, best people out there. You know what I'm saying? Who would be, some of your best guests you say you had on your show? Like, who's some of the best, guests that you've had that's really taught you something, when you had them on?
Smith comes to mind, and football fans know Michael Smith from Thursday Night Football. He used to be at ESPN. Now he's with NBC and Peacock. Me and Michael Smith did a show for 2.5 hours, and we had never met each other. There's a lot behind that, but anytime a person tells you how long do you want to go and they keep going with you and are fully engaged, that means a lot. But also as a broadcaster, that means you have to be prepared, right, to be able to carry a conversation that long. And we're live, folks. No cut cards, just live conversation happening. So I think for having someone I haven't met to trust me enough, that has a family, with 2.5 hours of their time, and to also answer questions from my listeners, that meant a lot. And it's because he had respect for me and the work and job I'd done, because he had seen me on social media and the work that I do, so that definitely meant a lot. Matthew Berry just came on my show this week, and he started off the show, saying he had started following me because he loved my coverage of the Commanders, which meant a lot. And when Matthew Berry is like a king of football, and right. To know, he had started following me because of the work I do covering the Washington Commanders football team. That honestly was immense for me. I had Kurt Angle on the show. I mean, I've had so many big names, as you mentioned, on the show, and I'm thankful because I truly do think, I learned something. I've had Brandy Rhodes on. I mean, I truly do think I learned something from each and every person, that comes on the show. I remember meeting Sugar Ray Leonard. We had the whole DMV connect, I love boxing. So that was obviously cool. It made me super cool with my family because, who doesn't love Sugar Ray? So it's those experiences. But I think for me, more so, I'm glad these people trust me with telling their stories, they trust me to come on. Because most of the time when I invite people on the show, some of them I know, but a lot of times people that I don't know, right? And we're just having that first time conversation live in front of an audience. So you guys are seeing it pure and raw, you know, as it comes. So, you know, it means a lot to me going back to branding that, you know, I've been able to work with an incredible team to build my brand to get to that level, you know, where people want to come on the show. I get pitched all the time, you know, for different guests to come on. Like soon, I'm super excited. I'm not gonna say the name, but I'm gonna be welcoming on a Black country singer to the show. And his PR representative reached out to me for that. You know, so it means a lot that people trust me with telling their story, that they want to come on the platform and that they like what they see and hear. Because that's what I started the show in 2017, my Listen In With KNN podcast, because people weren't giving me a seat at the table. They did not want to give me a microphone and have me, you know, spit my sports thoughts out. So, okay, that's fine. The way I grew up, if someone isn't offering you, you know, do it yourself, you know? So for me, that meant I made my own podcast. And, you know, who would have known that would have grown into what it is today? But, you know, again, it started with me just believing in myself. Another piece of advice, investing in yourself. It took a lot. You know, you can't just have an idea. A lot of times, you know, you can have an idea, but what's going to be the concept on that idea? And how are you going to make that idea a reality? And so the fact that, you know, I was able to take that dream to concept to reality to something that's still going on now, you know, it means a lot to me. And it means a lot now too that again, you know, I'm lifting as I climb, because now I'm bringing other young people in to work with me so they can get hands-on, you know, media experiences. All the young people that work with me right now, they're recent college grads, and they've been looking for jobs in media. But, you know, we talk about it. It's hard. It's hard. So here they can come get the experience and hopefully take this experience and take it to their first time, hopefully, media jobs. And that's always my goal. And we're learning together. You know, as much as they learn from me, I learn from them. And it's kind of turned into my Listen In With KNN family.
Love it. Oh, so much. Do you ever get nervous?
I don't know why, but your eye is really scratchy. But tell me if I heard your question right. Do I ever get nervous when I'm talking to guests?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I will say on live stream, I do not. I don't know if I get nervous at all. I think I get excited. Like, I think maybe I get excited nerves. Like, I think sometimes when I'm about to talk to somebody, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm only about to talk to this person, which means I can overthink. But overthinking is usually not a bad thing, because that means I over prepare. And I didn't really know if you can even ever be over prepared, because you never know, you know, where a conversation is going to go. Again, I do my show live, right? So the conversation can lead and go anywhere, and I have to be ready for that. So I don't think that makes me nervous. If anything, I might get more nervous when I'm doing like live events. Again, because I have a perfectionist mentality. One, I'm like, I'm in heels. Please don't fall, because the way viral is now, if you fall or trip, you are going to be everywhere and everyone's going to be laughing at you. And then two, you know, I think just when I'm live in front of people, like at events, I just always want to be my best. So, you know, but I think nerves, I think they have a negative perception, but I think they can actually be positive, right? Like, because when you have nerves, I mean, you know, like your body is thinking about it, you're excited about it. And for me, it's what do you turn those nerves into? And to me, that turns into my energy, and that's how I'm able to bring it to everything that I do.
Nice. So what else is there? What's the end game, Kelsey? Like, what is the goal? You know,
I love that.
Is it continuous? You don't have an end game. It's just keep going until you don't go no more, or is there something like plateau you want to hit, like a goal set out?
Knowing me, I don't know if there's ever going to be a plateau. Like, I always want more, you know, and I think that's something, you know, I think that's what drives me. It's just that I'm always wanting more. But, you know, I think for me, I would, you know, one of my goals is to be, you know, I want to be a household name in sports. Like, you know, I've loved sports for so long. You know, I really want people to know, not just know me, but know me for who I am and the knowledge, you know, and insight that I offer. So that's definitely a goal. You know, I've loved how I've grown in the DMV, and I'm so thankful for my DMV family and DMV supporters. But, you know, now to have the opportunity to do more nationally, you know, I just want to grow in that sense. You know, people call me KNN, and the whole point of that is like it's based off the own news network like CNN. So I really am my own media network. Speaking of which, I would love that. Oprah, I know you have own. I want my KNN network one day. You know, that's something I would absolutely love. You know, just put different content creators out there, diverse content out there. You know, it would definitely be a dream. Being a college professor at a top university, I would love that. You know, that's something I never thought about. So graduating and getting opportunities to teach, but I love teaching. Like, there's nothing like teaching, you know, collegiate students. So absolutely love that. And then I would love my community action project to be a national nonprofit, not even just national, because I've actually had people reach out from different countries to work with me. So hopefully to be international, with this organization, just making sure that we educate and literate all over the world. So there's a couple things. And then honestly too, I want to be happy. So whatever I'm doing, I want to keep doing it while it makes me happy, keep pushing, keep striving, keep thriving, and hopefully inspiring others, along the way and connecting with folks. And probably just the other goal, I want to travel the world. Like, I think the world is too big not to see. So somehow, some way, I'm getting myself on a plane and I will be all over. I need to find more free time, but eventually just, finding time to just reflect and relax. Because you only are as good as you treat yourself, meaning I'm learning more the importance, of mental health, which means also just taking time out to continue to get to know me. And I think the great thing about life is that some things will remain the same, but some things are going to change. And I think we can all agree, especially as you get older. So just making time that I take time out to reflect on the journey, but also get to know myself better, with each step along the way.
Yes.
Powerful. So inspiring. I'm just completely, can y'all hear me better now? My sound is just really acting up today. My apologies. Great.
No problem.
I'm just awe by all that you're doing, and just continue to keep up the amazing work. They're shouting you out in the comments about all of the stuff that you have going. Just keep inspiring us all. You are truly amazing.
Thank you. I so appreciate the kind words.
Is there any guests that you want, like, any celebrity guests, or even maybe not celebrity in terms of entertainment, maybe it's like, powerful person in the world? Is there any like certain guests that I got to get that guy on my show one day, or girl on that show one day?
Well, if we're pitching people, Barack Obama, would love for you to come on my show. Sit down with me, talk some politics, talk some sports. I would absolutely love that. I'd love to get our vice president on, Kamala Harris, not only as a sports fan, a member of my sorority, but just also, again, to talk what it means to be a Black woman in that position. I would love to get her on the show. I keep talking about Oprah. Oprah's got to come on one day. I've got to meet her. We got Mississippi together. We got Baltimore together. We got too much in common. So I think those would definitely probably be like my top 3. No, I won't put them in order ranking, but I would love to get all them on the show. So hopefully, knock on wood, fingers crossed that
that happens.
I'm manifesting it.
Manifestation. It's gonna happen. That's what you want. It's gonna happen. Because people don't realize when you manifest things, it's not about like stressing on it. It's just wanting it. You know what I'm saying? I noticed in life with me, it was like whenever I manifested something. If I was sitting there thinking about it all the time, trying to do it all the time, it would take so long to do it. Because you're not supposed to try to do anything for life. You're supposed to just live life and let it come to you. And like when the right time came, it came. You know what I'm saying? It was more when I wasn't really focused on it. I was just living day by day, doing the best I could for that day. And then all of a sudden, boom, it was there. And I was like, whoa, it's here now. As opposed to like, every day I got to wake up, oh, man, I'm going to do this. 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 You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just live life, enjoy it. Let the wave go the way it is. Because, sometimes it's going to crash, but sometimes you're going to get to ride that thing out.
Oh, sad. And that's why life is a journey. You just don't know where it's going to take you. That's also the joy and the beauty, in life that, so much is unexpected. And I think for me, you're going to find new things that you're going to be into that maybe weren't originally in your plans. Like me, I never fully I loved mentoring. I never saw myself, teaching. And the fact that God had put that in my plans, and now it's one of my favorite things I love to do. And you find that out, through life, so when people ask me about getting a master's degree now, for me, I'm like, yes, if you can get it, especially if you can get it paid for. But for me, it's opened up new opportunities for teaching and being a professor. And, I'm absolutely, thankful for that. I just hosted the National Black MBA Association DC chapter inauguration. These are kind of the doors, that open. So, it means a lot. There's like me, public speaking. I mean, I used to get so nervous when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to be so nervous public speaking. And, just because, again, I was scared, I just didn't want to say anything wrong. It was my perfectionist mentality. So I'm like, oh my God, I just hope I don't go up here. And one of the things that helped me was I entered pageants and pageantry. And it was great because, I really felt like I learned more, how to talk and, talk to different audiences, how to slow down talking, even though I can still talk fast. But, and then so the self-confidence is off. I really think public speaking is a confidence thing. I really do. It's a confidence thing, and it eludes confidence. When you hear somebody speak well, and this is when I think I go back to church, I don't care what nobody says. Nobody can speak better to anybody than a pastor to a congregation. Yeah. And, but it takes confidence though, and because you have to believe what you say, and you have to get others to believe what you're saying. I feel like, so that's always in my mind. But again, for a girl that used to be so nervous and like start to shake before she spoke, to now, that being one of my main things that I do, this is what life is. That's why it's a journey, and you never know where it's going to lead you to. But also to know, it doesn't mean that you can't get over things. There's so many things that you can get over and so many obstacles, but it starts within you to want to get over those things and to put in the work to get over those things.
Acting in the future?
We talked about this. I told him I don't think I can act. I cannot do all the emotions that they.
Hey, you just told everybody you can do whatever
and laugh.
Whatever. You can't back up on that one now. Hollywood come with that role, Kelsey.
I just don't know.
What you doing?
Maybe one day, but I'm going to have to learn my emotions better. I think for me, and it's so funny because I think why actors are great is because they can be vulnerable. And I think maybe my hardest thing right now is being vulnerable. And I mean that to say, for my whole life, it was about being a strong Black woman. And not to say that you can't both be vulnerable and strong, but I feel like, for so long, I've only known how to be that. And so to be able to dig into different emotions would be harder for me, especially on screen. You have so many people like watching you. So, it's going to be a challenge, but a challenge I probably couldn't get over. But, people have asked me about acting and stuff before. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think at this time. But, we'll see where God's plans are and where he leads me. But, it would be work. It would be work. I will say that. But it doesn't mean I can't do it. It just will be a little bit more work.
There you go. I can't come back and say, no, when you said that you could do anything, like I said.
I did say that. I can't go back on my word.
We're talking about building an empire. Some of them Hollywood checks be kind of big there. So it'd be like, it might boost your, boost your
Maybe LA will come pull me from DC and say, look, we got to get you out of the nation's capital. So maybe, who knows? Maybe I spend more time on the West Coast. I have. I was in LA for Super Bowl last year. And I think I've been to LA about 5 times now, and I absolutely love it every time I go. First off, West Coast, I'm jealous. You guys get palm trees and warm weather and sand. But I'm an East Coast girl through and through. I'm a biggie girl. But all that to say, I love LA every time I go out there. Special vibes, special people, and yeah, it's always a fun time.
Nice. Well, hey, man, it's been great, man. It's great having you on, man.
Having me. This was fun.
We got the spotlight. As you guys see, she is well talented out there. She's doing big things out there. And you guys can lock in on her. Her channels inside the description. Go check her out on all her social media platforms, man. Man, does big things, man. The GOAT right now for a women content. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the sports field.
You are so sweet. Thank you all so much for having me. Shout out to you all. You guys are phenomenal hosts. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to appear on your platform and allow me to share my story. And I hope my biggest goal is hopefully it touched someone out there or inspired someone out there. And if anybody wants to connect with me also, please feel free to. It's probably my Southern girl side, but I love connecting with people. I love connecting with folks. So please feel free to reach out with me at me, and I hope to get back to you. And yeah, just follow the journey, The Real K Nelson, HostNicoleNelson.com. And I'm just looking forward to learning and growing and just fellowshipping together, talking sports, trash talking if you can handle it, and so much more.
Before we get you out of who's winning the Super Bowl, Chell. Go ahead and say it.
Okay, so can I just
before you answer this, who's winning the Super Bowl?
So let me be honest. At the beginning of the season, and y'all can check this, I said it would be the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And lo and behold, both teams are still alive. And you remember this, Randall. I said the Chiefs and the Eagles. And I just came off a perfect weekend of picks. And I'm going to stay true to that. And I know everyone's going to be like, Kelsey, what about Patrick Mahomes' high ankle sprain? He's still Patrick Mahomes. I've seen the movement. And the Chiefs, let me tell you, I tweeted this today. Patrick Mahomes is not going to continue to be owned by the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, hopefully this season that changes, so my picks are right. But, Patrick is only going to be beat by the same team so many times. So I don't know. I feel like, and Andy Reid, just greatness. But and the Bengals keep giving them bulletin board material. You can't mess with the Chiefs like that. So I'm keeping
them 3 times in
Chiefs
a row.
And Eagles.
You should be walking around with your chest puffed out 3 times in a row.
They are. I do like the Eagles, though. I will say, it's not just because of you. I think Jalen Hurts. I feel like he's go back to the underdog mentality. I think Jalen Hurts has had that as well. He's hungry for it. I feel like he knows he's been disrespected as a quarterback, and the Eagles look good, but the Chiefs are going to be a hard task. I'm going to be honest. The Chiefs are going to be a very hard task for a very good team. But the Eagles, they look good.
We build different over here in Philly. You know what I'm saying? We're winning the Super Bowl. You can mark that down right now.
Look, it's no NFC East. It's no NFC East hate for me. I know some Washington folks are like, Kelsey, I can't believe you said that. But I just want the best to win. And Jalen. I mean, I don't know how you can't root for Jalen. You know what I mean? Again, just a good guy in the community, and he plays with his heart on his sleeve. So what more could you want from a quarterback?
Too, he's not one of them guys that's really rah-rah. You know what I'm saying? He's straight, focused, laser.
He's about ball. Right.
He should be an author, dude. He has some of the most inspiring quotes ever. You know what I'm saying? When I be watching this guy, that Jalen Hurts is the next level type quarterback and next level type man in general. Like, he's a guy that you want to look up to, and he's only 24 years old. So it's like, it's kind of crazy.
And he's an old soul. He's above, he's before he's definitely, I think, you can tell, like, there's so much wisdom there. And I think that's why, again, I don't think you can say anything bad about Jalen Hurts. I mean, the guy he puts his head down, he gets the work done, and he leads by example. What more could you ask for, from a quarterback?
Thanks, man. But just know it. Eagles winning. Yeah, I don't know, you want to cover something awesome. It's going to be the parade. You're right there in Philly. The parade in Philly. That'd be an event you want to cover. Start planning on covering in 3 weeks from now.
East Coast. So who knows? Philadelphia might take the trade up.
But that happens. But yeah, thanks again for coming on. Great take, and like I said, always a pleasure having you on here. If you know any other guys, you be shooting me your way. Like, I know a lot of good people like that. We'll love to interview. Like I said, we like to let this spotlight thing grow. And people of all lights, sports, comedy, entertainment. If you're just a life coach, what I'm saying, we like getting you on here just because, it's good to hear lessons, and it's good to hear, other people tell you their journey and how they became the person that they are. And, we love doing that over here. That's what the real is all about, keeping it real and keeping it fun.
Gotta keep it real. That's why I'm the real K Nelson on social media, folks. I only know how to keep it real. I only know how to be me. But honestly, thank you both so much for having me.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night. Any last words, Dee?
If y'all can hear me, thank you so much. You've been amazing. And I really appreciate the gems you drop, and continue your amazing work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for everyone for having me. I hope everyone has a great Friday, a great weekend. And just remember, y'all, just keep going. Don't let anything stop or deter you, all right? This is your life. You are the only one that's in control of it.
The director of your life. You the director.
You are director, executive producer, host. You're doing it all, folks. Get it done. Right. Again, don't let anyone stop you.
All right. Well, great conversation, ladies. Y'all have a great Friday night as well. And we out on another episode of The Real. Peace.
Peace.
What is up? Welcome to another episode of The Real.